Look.
Morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that everybody's coming out of Q4 and they're either like have Q4 hangover or Q4 aftershocks, but we appreciate you jumping on. Want to respect your time, so we're going to jump right into it. As Sarah mentioned, this qualifies for 2 CE credits. You do have to stay on for the whole thing. We're going to ask 4 poll questions. We already asked the first one. Basically, this is the easy one. Put in your name and your NPN number. And there'll be 3 more things we'll ask you to put in the chat. And you got to do all 4 to get the CE credits. Okay, that's a state thing. All right. So to get us started, we're going to jump right in, keep moving, because we got a packed program today. So let's give our attention to our current State of Illinois President, Sarah Walker Height, and she'll have some opening comments for us, please.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sarah Walker Hyde. I'm your NABIP Illinois President and also your Region 3 Vice President. So it was not by design that I'm wearing 2 leadership hats, but things happen, life happens, and I'm happy to serve as a volunteer this year and actually been volunteering back since 2014 in one way, shape, or form with the NABIP board. So I'm proud of the presentations that our NABIP Illinois leadership have been putting together and programming they've been putting together all year, and that continues on today. So be sure you check out our website, nabipillinois.org, for all things happening in Illinois. You'll see things posted not just for the state chapter, but also for our local chapters. We want to meet you where you're at. And if you're not close by to any of the actual physical locations of meetings, there are several hybrid meeting options at the state and local level. We also do have in nabipillinois.org listed some key national events that are coming up, but by no means is it the full programming available from national. So also be sure to check out nabip.org. That's the national website. And on the very first page there, as you scroll down, you'll see all of the updated programming, professional development, power hours, a fun one to attend as well if you want to meet, greet, and network other members. So thanks all for joining us today. If you just hopped on, your first poll question is to find the chat feature and log in with your full name and your NPN number. Our NABIP members are being sponsored today for 2 CE credits in Illinois. So with that, back to you, TJ.
All right, very good. So our first speaker today is going to be Susie Albert. So you may or may not know this, but NABIP, each state has a chapter, and then they divide the country into 8 regions. And Region 3 is basically all the Midwest, and Susie Alberts chairs that whole region. So Susie's a kind of a legend in NABIP. She won't say that, but I'll say it, and also just a sweetheart of a person. So her topic today is called The Power of We. So let's give our attention to Susie, please.
So I think I need, oh, here we go. I tried to share a minute ago and I couldn't, so. Oops, maybe I should start in the beginning. Sorry about that. Is that coming through okay? Is it in the right mode?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank TJ and Sarah for inviting me. It's an honor to be asked to be part of your meeting this morning. I know I set my timer here, so I won't hopefully go over time. I know I have 20 minutes. It kind of always makes me wish that things could be interactive because I don't necessarily like just talking at people. I like to hear what people have to say. So if anybody has any comments they want to share, any questions, throw it in the chat. I don't think I'll be able to see it, but I know that probably TJ and Sarah will be able to see it. And then they can stop me and, or unmute yourself and stop me. I'm good with anything. I like for things to be interactive. So TJ, threw out to me, "Hey, would you like to present at on our Illinois state meeting?" And I said, "Sure. Like, what do you want me to talk about?" And TJ and I met through another organization, United Benefit Advisors, which puts a lot of emphasis on collaboration and working together. And so, as he and I talked a little bit, this topic just kind of emerged. And it's about collaboration. And you know, I think sometimes people go, "Oh, well, we know all about this stuff." I personally love to participate or listen to other people talk about topics, even if it's something I know like the back of my hand. Because what I find in life is as I'm going along, doing my thing, I forget. So hopefully today will prompt you to think about some things when it comes to collaboration, both good or bad, because we have to kind of be wary of how we use or don't use collaboration to make things successful. I am a licensed insurance broker. I should have started off by saying, as TJ said, I've been around a long time. Some of you may or may not know that I have been over 30, I'm a member for over 30 years. I joined NABIP in the mid 90s. Some of you probably were not born yet then. Um, and I became president of Metro Detroit's local in 1998, and I have been in some avenue of leadership or serving in some capacity ever since then. So my commitment to NABIP does run very, very deep. And over the years, collaboration has really been an important part of that, collaborating with other people all over the country. So today, I always like to start off with an agenda so people kind of know what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the definition of collaboration according to Webster's Dictionary. I'm going to talk about 4 pillars of collaboration that I think are super important. What happens when collaboration breaks down? What causes it to break down? The results can be devastating. And looking at opportunities to win together. And then I want to tell at the end a story about my opportunity to collaborate with a customer and also with another NABIP member from across the country to help a customer solve a huge problem that his daughter had with her insurance. So, Webster's Dictionary says that collaboration is working jointly with others to produce or achieve something together. I don't know about this, especially in intellectual endeavors, because I think collaboration really is important in every aspect of our personal and professional life. It's creating partnerships, working on a common goal, really important to share knowledge, share ideas to solve a problem or to produce some good work. So that's kind of the formal definition of collaboration according to Webster's Dictionary. Collaboration versus coordination, they kind of walk very closely together, but there are some differences. When you are coordinating with somebody, it really kind of indicates that you are putting in an individual effort, but perhaps walking alongside someone else. So the efforts are parallel, trying to create something or make something happen, versus collaboration, which is more like, walking hand in hand. You're synchronizing, you're working collectively on ownership of a project or something, and it's shared success. It can't just be one person's success. It's the success of the group or of the organization that's focused on, not individuality. So, what are some of the pillars of successful collaboration? I thought later, as I was going over this morning, I thought I could have called it the 5 C's of collaboration. And this was not intentional. It's just I was doing some research and getting other people's ideas, and these are some things that really came to the surface for me. Communication, commitment, clarity, and connection and community, which really is the stronghold of our organization, is connection and community. And I'll talk a bit more about that. So communication, organizations and relationships rise and fall on the ability to communicate. It is really the foundation of everything that we do. It needs to be clear, it needs to be open. So, the communication needs to flow both ways. You put something out there and you need to be open to having communication back from folks that are going to be impacted by the project. It has to be frequent enough that people feel like they know what's going on, because I think we've all probably been in situations where there was no communication about something, and then we start to kind of create our own story. We kind of start to create our own conclusions. So it's really important to, keep talking with people, and even if it's bad news, you gotta share that. You've gotta make sure that people understand the good, the bad, and the ugly. Again, it's sharing of ideas. It's not just one person's idea, but it's really coordination with everybody who's involved. Again, it has to be honest. Sometimes we have to deliver bad news. I know as an insurance broker, I frequently have to call people and tell them, your claim's not going to be paid, or it's not going to be paid the way you wanted it, or, yeah, all kinds of bad news. I'm sure as insurance professionals, regardless of place what job you have in your organization, you've had to at some point deliver some bad news. And it's not happy. It's not pleasant, but it's important. And I think people in the long run appreciate your honesty. And then it's important to communicate to get everybody on the same page. Just trying to get a whole bunch of people with all different ideas on the same page can really be a challenge, but it's really important, and communication is key to that. Oops, sorry. Commitment. It takes commitment from everybody involved. Everybody has to understand that it's a shared goal. You all need to be dedicated to the success of the team. Some of you may not know David Saltzman, but have heard of him. And now David has stepped up on the national board to assist in kind of getting things going again on a positive foot. David is a very successful past president, businessman, and he does a presentation called "Don't Be the A-hole in Team." And I know I say that kind of tongue in cheek, hoping not to offend anybody, but really is true that it's about the commitment to the team and of the team. It does require personal commitment. One of the things I want to say about that is you got to be honest about whether or not you can make the commitment. One of the best things I ever learned to say was, I wish I could, but I can't, because I tend to want to be committed to everything. And you have to kind of know where you can and can't be committed. There is interdependence on other team members. And again, you all got to be honest about what you can and can't do, because, sometimes you take on too many things, you just can't do a good job at anything. Clarity. Everybody has to understand their part in the team. What is my role? What is your role? It's really up to the leader to cast the vision. I know I have worked for organizations or been on projects which just really didn't get off the ground because we couldn't understand what the goal was. We couldn't understand the vision. And again, it goes back to communication. And the leader, yourself or whoever is empowered to be the leader of your team, really has the responsibility to cast that vision and help people understand and get people, in sync with the expectations. If I have different expectations of a goal and you have different expectations of what our goal is, then we're not going to meet in the middle. So everybody needs to be super clear. If you're the leader, you need to be able to put that out there. If you're not the leader, then you need to be honest with the leader and say, yeah, I don't think we understand where we're going, like how we're going to land this plane, right? So I think we've all seen things fall apart when there wasn't clarity. And then connection and community. And again, this is one of the pillars and the strongholds of our organization of NABIP as a whole. As I said, I've been involved for a very long time. My closest friends, for the most part, are part of NABIP, are people that I've met through NABIP over the years, and I have built bonds with them. I trust them, they trust me, they give me a sense of belonging, and I think that's something we really have to work hard at again. I have seen, COVID did a lot of damage to our communities where we couldn't meet in person, we couldn't see each other face to face, we couldn't collaborate. I don't think we collaborate as well. Often on some projects where you need to be hands-on with people. We have to work really hard in today's environment to create community and create connections. And this really strikes a chord with younger folks. We're all trying to get other people, younger people, to come into the business, to come into the organization. So, some of us who have been around a long time don't have to continue to do this beyond retirement. So, it's really important to get some projects together that really strike a chord with other communities. And younger people really want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. And again, it's our greatest strength as an organization. I do think it's been very difficult for many chapters to get back on their feet after COVID. I know in Michigan, we are struggling desperately. We used to be the largest, Metro Detroit used to be the largest chapter in the nation. We had 550 members, and we are under 300 members now. And it's sad to me to see that happen. That's why I continue to get involved. I continue to be involved. I am helping with programs on a local level. We're trying to get some things going. We're trying to continue and recreate the community that we once had. So I would put that challenge out there to all of you to try to figure out how do we create that community, whether it's face to face or it's in meetings like this. We just need to continue to touch people and reach people and let them know that they're an important part of this community. So let's talk about things that cause collaboration to break down. TJ, have there been anything in the comments? Any questions? Anything that anybody wants to share?
Let me take a quick look here.
Or Sarah? I shouldn't just.
Nope, I don't see anything yet.
Okay. Well, feel free. Just stop me if there is.
That means you're being crystal clear, Sudie.
I don't know about that, but thank you. The breakdown of collaboration can be devastating. It can be, the end of the road for some projects or organizations. Communication gaps are a huge problem in the breakdown of and the breakdown of collaboration. Misunderstandings, I think misunderstandings happen a lot when people are texting or people are, not like seeing people face to face. I like to do meetings on Zoom if I have to deliver bad news. I want to see how somebody's reacting. I want to see their body language. Too much input. Sometimes we can over communicate and we can give too much information. I know we kind of say tongue in cheek TMI when we're talking about personal stuff, but it can happen in business too, where you're throwing too much out there and people like the vision gets skewed. And then excluding people. If you get into a group where there is a group of people and somebody has a very strong opinion and it starts to create the exclusion of other people and their ideas and they stop communicating, that can be a very bad thing. That is a very bad thing for collaboration. Silos are a huge problem, I think. This is my job. This is your job. The two shall not meet in the middle. It happens a lot in corporate America. I've spent a lot of years in corporate America in various jobs, and many organizations have a huge downfall. I think sometimes our chapters get very siloed. This is my job. This is your job. And we need to really be able to come to harmony to make things successful and work together. Territorial behavior is also part of it. We had a situation recently in my office where some woman, we had never known her name, sent a renewal to a group that was new to me and new to my account manager. And Shannon, my account manager, pulls all my renewals and gets it all together for me. And so she goes back to this woman and says, oh, I pull Susie's renewals, so, you don't have to do this. This woman went ballistic. This is my job. I do this. I will do this for you. Ooh, okay. Struck a chord there with somebody. She was being very territorial. We were just trying to, kind of move it off of her to-do list and onto ours, but apparently she doesn't want that. Lack of clarity, I talked about that a minute ago. If people don't understand their roles, people don't understand the goal, the overall, where are we going with this, then collaboration is not going to happen because they're going to make their own assumptions, and oftentimes those assumptions are incorrect. Um,
Hey, should they,
Leadership issues. Yeah.
hey, going back to silos for a second, question.
Uh-huh.
With people working remote, I thought of that right away. What's your thoughts on how we keep collaboration going where some people might be remote or hybrid? We're not all
Mhm.
together, like maybe we used to be.
I feel that with my account manager because my account manager likes to work from home all the time. And I have felt a big gap in our communication. So things, I just don't feel like we collaborate as well together. I think it's something that you have to be very intentional about. I think you have to set up a team meeting. And our new manager is now holding weekly team meetings. It's 30 minutes, it's check-in, it's sharing, people sharing ideas or problems or going over things that we all need to know. But I think you have to be super intentional if people are remote, and you have to figure out ways that work for everybody. It's particularly problematic when people are in different time zones. I mean, I'm in the Eastern time zone, y'all are in the Central time zone. I know when I sent out some membership invitations, or I sent out an email saying I'm going to hold a membership call at 4 o'clock. Well, I had some people in Illinois that went, 4 o'clock. I thought that was 4 o'clock my time. So, it has to be intentional and it has to be clear. Does that help you?
Yes,
I
thank
think,
you. Good
I just
tips.
think intentionality is just super important. Leadership issues, we've all worked for bad bosses. I mean, I could give you a list of people and a list of reasons people were bad bosses. People who don't communicate, people who give you poor guidance, people who make assumptions. They assume they assume you understand. So that can be a huge problem. And I was thinking about egos, and I thought, I could do we could do a whole presentation on ego because egos, too many egos, too big of egos that stifle communication. That is a huge issue, and it is something you need to be very wary of when you're in a group. And it can be very hard to control. I know we had a person on our board in Metro Detroit a few years ago who had just a massive ego, and everything was about that person, and everything was really to they were trying to bring high visibility themselves and really didn't care about the organization. And it became very obvious and difficult to manage. So to the degree you can manage it, and sometimes if you're in an organization or a situation that you can't manage it, then you just unfortunately have to take yourself out of it or try to take that person out. But ego is a huge problem. Overload, I think we all suffer from overload, especially coming out of fourth quarter. As TJ said, some of us have a hangover from fourth quarter. But too much information can also overload people, and then too many platforms. I have a client that I just inherited that has a payroll platform and a Cobra platform and an enrollment platform and this platform. And so then when they took somebody off a few months ago, the person didn't get taken off at the carrier level, and nobody knew where the breakdown was because they had so many platforms. So just we have to be very careful about that in today's world where we're all very in tune to technology, but it doesn't replace the human touch and the human communication. And then cultural barriers are super important. We have to understand the audience. I think sometimes this is a problem with our current administration. Our president doesn't always take into account the cultural differences in some communities that are super important. And that in some cultures, in some areas, people just don't feel safe. They don't feel psychologically safe. They've been betrayed. They've been sold out. So trust issues are really a serious barrier to collaboration. So you just got to be super in tune to the cultural issues in your communities and your organizations. I was really happy to see that now we have a big movement toward reaching the Spanish community. I know I have had groups in the past. I don't speak Spanish. where I had to rely on an interpreter or somebody else at an employee meeting. And that can be incredibly hard, but it's really important. And I'm glad to see that NABIP is taking that on. So if any of you work in the Spanish community, look for that. There's a new infographic that came out. I'm sure Sarah will be sharing that with everybody. So the result of a breakdown in collaboration can be devastating. Projects fail, companies fail. You know, we've all been part of things. I have observed this sometimes at a state level, even here in Michigan, where the state board gets an idea, but they don't get buy-in from the locals, and they throw it out there and they put it out there, and it's this wonderful idea, and it falls flat because they didn't get buy-in. They didn't collaborate with people at a local level, and they didn't get them involved. Companies fail, companies go out of business, as we well have all seen. Um, I read a book by a Michigan author, Jim Hunter, called The Servant Leader. It talks about leadership, obviously. And he said, and this always has stuck with me when I saw him speak in person, you can force somebody to work for you, but you really get them from the shoulders down. You can force them to work with their hands and their back and physical labor. But if you really want to get somebody involved and get their buy-in and make something successful, you have to get them from the shoulders up. You have to get their heart and their mind to be on the same page with you, to collaborate with you to make things successful. And again, we all know what happens when that doesn't happen. And then relationships fall apart. I just did a quick Google search that the divorce rate in America is 40%, was 40%, projected to be 40% in 2025. That's actually an improvement over past years. So I guess we're getting on the right path, maybe. But personal relationships, friendships, business relationships fall apart when we can't work with other people, when we can't successfully collaborate with others. Together we win. I like that saying just because it does take more than one person to really have a win. There's a song some of you who are older may remember, "No man is an island, no man stands alone." No woman is an island. We're not out there together, or we're all out there together. We have to work together. Successful projects are often too big for one person. And we need other people's ideas and input and physical work to make them successful. One person's opinion is one person's opinion. I have a different opinion than you do. And together, if we can come together and collaborate, then we can have a successful um, uh, achievement of a goal. And it's important to bring in people that have different strengths and different talents than you. Good managers will bring in people that have different strengths than them. And that is super important in organizations such as NABIP. You got to bring in people that have different talents. I am not great at social media because, I'm older and I didn't grow up with it. So I need to bring in people who can do that for me. I can put on programs, but I am not good at the social media piece. So it's important to look to different people to bring in different strengths and talents. I heard this the other day. I was listening to a podcast and I thought this was so perfect for this presentation. And I know we've all heard it, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And it is really, really true of NABIP and of every aspect of our lives, whether you're involved in the other social organizations, churches, PTA, you need other people to go far. So I just want to quickly, in my last minute or so, I know I'm about out of time here, I want to talk about my collaboration story. And this is not about me. This is about pointing out the importance of collaborating with our network of folks around the country. I got a call in November from the business manager from one of my long-term clients. His daughter lives in Florida. She had had major surgery to remove a brain tumor. And, she was having some cognitive issues. She was okay. She was living back by herself, but she was having a few cognitive issues and she had moved right before her surgery. So she called her insurance company. She was buying an individual policy. She does some kind of, I don't know, gig work or something where she doesn't have benefits. So she called her insurance company because she didn't want them to be sending her monthly bill, to the wrong address. And in the course of this conversation with the representative, just telling him I have a new apartment, she mentioned that she was not working, that she had had this major surgery, and that set off all kinds of fireworks. The person said, "Oh, well, if you're not working, then you don't qualify for our insurance and you'll have to go on Medicaid." Well, here's this woman who is having cognitive issues, who is trying to recover from major surgery. I think she's mid to late 20s. She calls her dad, who calls us and says, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do." Um, so I talked to the gentleman, to George Owens, his name is, with companies Tunkers Incorporated, and got some vague facts. And then I got on the phone and reached out to two people in Florida, and just said, "Hey, I need help with a client." Julie Parks, who is actually originally from Michigan, so I know her pretty well. She responded immediately. I mean, immediately, even though it was in the middle of AEP. She responded immediately. I put her in touch with George, and within 7 days, she had helped his daughter get insurance. This was mid-November. Her insurance with her carrier was going to be canceled as of December 15th. Here she was, trying to recover, in treatment, needed follow-up, and was being told her insurance was being canceled. So I just think this story speaks to the strength of our organization and our ability to collaborate. I also have had a lot of conversations with other people in chapters who are doing some good programs that I want to tag on to. I want to be able to participate or figure out how we can bring those programs to us locally. So never underestimate the importance of collaboration and reaching out. This story is actually going to be featured in Brokers Making a Difference, and Kelly Lucides asked me to throw out a plug for Brokers Making a Difference because they are looking for more stories like this to include in that publication. So we put that out to the media and put it out to legislators. So if you've got some of these stories, don't be shy. Bring them to Kelly. And so here's my contact information. Anything I can do to help any of you. TJ and Sarah both know I'm always happy to talk to people or work with people or do what I can to help. So I hope you found this insightful. Again, thank you to TJ and Sarah for giving me the time and the opportunity to speak to you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend coming up. Happy Friday Eve.
Thank you so much, Susie. That was really, really good. I mean, what you hit on is the foundation, the core of everything a person does in every organization. And I think you made great points. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right,
Thank you.
we'll keep rolling here. None of this stuff happens without our sponsors. The reason we're getting CE credits are our sponsors. Our sponsors do so much for NABIP, for our industry. So we want to thank our sponsors, Principal, iSolved, and Angle Health for today's session. So we're going to hear from Principal right now for a few minutes. We'll give our attention to Kevin Ryan from Principal Financial, and he'll talk about the perks and offerings and how we can, Principal can help us to move forward in our organizations. So Kevin, it's all you, buddy.
All right, TJ, thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I was scrolling through. I see some familiar names from Blast of the Past, mostly some Central Illinois brokers I've worked with in the past. So I hope you're all doing well. Again, I'm Kevin Ryan. I'm a principal financial sales rep on the group benefits side. There's about 4 of us that run around the state of Illinois. So at the end of this, I'll put my contact information in the chat. You can reach out to me if you don't have principal representation, or if you want to find out who your rep is, I can certainly help with that. But basically what Principal is in my role, obviously we're a pretty broad company that does lots in the 401k business, assets under management, but we also have an insurance side as well, which is about 25% of the organization. So it's grown quite a bit since I've been working with Principal. We do individual insurance, individual life, individual disability, deferred comp type plans. But what I do is on the group side. So we work with group organizations from 2 life groups all the way up to, I would say, our 500. 2 to 500 is really what we're doing, but we certainly do groups over 500. And we sell dental insurance, vision insurance, short-term disability, long-term disability, life insurance, voluntary life, as well as critical illness, accident, and hospital. We're also in many states that have paid family leave programs. So Minnesota, one of the ones that just kind of launched their program first of the year. So we do products like paid family leave in states like Minnesota, Colorado, and some states on the East Coast that also have those programs. So pretty robust in what we're offering in regards to the benefits that are out there. All can be on employer paid or voluntary basis. I talked a little bit about critical illness, accident, and hospital. Those are a little bit more current to our portfolio. And I'd say in the last 5 years, that segment of space, voluntary benefits for employees, has grown significantly. It's just an employee benefit that's there for employees that want it, and they'll payroll deduct it. So again, crafting the right employee benefits program is certainly a mix of employer dollars, but also employee dollars as well. And that's increased quite dramatically. And as we create more high deductible health type plans, these types of products start to fill that gap in regards to deductibles, because they'll pay out non-taxable claims. They also have wellness benefits attached to them as well. So again, if you have more questions on some of these products, we'll get you in contact with who your representative is. But I would say that in the state of Illinois, we're really successful off the back of our dental product. Our dental product has probably one of the largest networks in the state of Illinois and nationally. We've invested quite a bit into the dental network. So when you talk about employee benefits, dental still remains the second most requested benefit that employees are looking for. So as much as we as advisors might think, well, disability is certainly more important to carry than dental, it is what it is. It's what employees recognize. They understand that benefit, and they want to talk about that second to their medical product. So strong dental network nationally. I would say we're probably one of the best in regards to reimbursement levels and what we're doing to protect employees' out-of-pocket costs. And we can talk more about what that looks like as it relates to claims and network and the whole thing. We use VSP as our vision partner. So when you're looking at vision, one of the largest networks of independent providers out there is VSP, as well as a spattling of some big box retailers they also have there as well. And then, of course, disability. Disability, I think, is the most important thing that we sell. It's probably the most undersold product that's out there, because a lot of advisors, they don't truly understand how to sell that product. It's income protection, meaning they're kind of scared to bring it up and discuss it. So a lot of my job is really educating advisors out there on the product, the ins and outs of the product. Again, your job is not to be know these things inside and out. You can rely on your carrier partners that understand contracts, that understand those languages. And Principal certainly has one of the strongest contracts out there from a disability perspective. So our wingspan and what we're doing is really robust. And I would say our value proposition is service. We're service first carrier. So we give you actual people that help and manage your business. And it's not an 800 number philosophy in what we're doing there. So you will have direct contacts that you will know by name and have direct access to help service your clients. So that's kind of the 411 on what Principal is doing. Again, I will put my contact information out there for you. Please reach out. If you say, hey, I want to know who my contact is, I will certainly help you and set you up there. So TJ, what do you think? Is that good? Anything else?
That's good, Kevin. That's really good. I appreciate it. And I just want to say, I've brought Kevin out on clients. In my world, I know medical. I know medical inside out, up and down, every angle, dental, vision. But I got into a situation where a group was interested in disability, individual disability. And so I told the client, I'm going to bring somebody in who this is all they live in this world. And Kevin came in and we got the business. So I think it's really good to lean on our partners like Principal. So. And I'll say one other thing about you, Kev, and about Principal in general. You get into these kind of weird situations where it's sort of a borderline thing. This is what I found always the case to be with Principal. If they have a choice between doing the letter of the law thing or doing the right thing, they do the right thing. And I really like that about Principal. So
I'd like to kick in on that too, TJ.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Keith.
Principal has actually been the strongest carrier partnership that I've had in my 35-year career. And we just wrote, guaranteed issue 10-year level term on a corporate account with 105 lives. Super cool product, so look into that with these guys. But, Suzanne Patone's our person, Kevin, out here in Seattle.
Yep.
And, the relationships that they build with us is unlike any other carrier that I've experienced. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to throw that out there in support of Principal and your guys' sponsorship and being here today. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well,
Amen, Keith. Great comments. What's that, Kev?
no, I appreciate
Oh,
that. You guys are you're singing my song. That's what we work in an industry where a lot of our competition is this East Coast mentality. A lot of those companies, I'm not going to say their names. We're Midwest. We're Des Moines, Iowa, and I think that's all most of us being Midwesterners here. We can understand what that means in regards to service and assistance in regards to your business.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for your sponsorship. We appreciate that very much, Kevin,
Appreciate
and
you having me.
passing on the principle. All right. Now, there's so much going on with legislation, changes, new laws in Illinois, I know, all kinds of things like this. And we have this wonderful saint of a person, Missy Shepherd, who somehow keeps track of all that stuff. I don't know how she does it. It's her superpower, though. So let's give our attention to Missy. She'll give us some federal legislation updates, please.
Well, good morning. I am enjoying this morning so far. Susie, your presentation was amazing. I'm going to connect with that just a little bit as I talk about some things going on here on the federal level and so forth. First thing I want to say this morning is you're not going to see slides from me. You're going to see my face. You're going to see the eye rolls. You're going to see the shoulder shrugs. You're going to see all of the animation that goes along with how Missy talks. Okay. So I will challenge all of you this morning, and we've got a great crowd. You did a really bang up job, TJ. I would challenge you to come on camera this morning and give me some smiles or some eye rolls yourselves. I'm not saying you have to, but if you're in the position to do it, let's see those smiley faces. So as I talk, maybe I see some reaction and don't think I'm just talking to the wall. Isn't that nice? It's so nice to see everybody. Okay, so let's get started on, we are working on going to Capitol Conference from a NABIP level. Capitol Conference is our big legislative hoorah, right? And we've got probably 6 or 7 registered Illinois folks going this year so far. I know that a lot of people will, register last minute or have a lot of things going on. We're all coming out of fourth quarter, et cetera. But we've got a pretty good delegation gearing up to go out there. And so Capitol Conference is February 22nd to the 24th. And NABIP is really changing the game up. This will be my 4th or 5th year going out with NABIP. And this year, we are having webinars ahead of time, not just one, 7. 7 webinars have been scheduled to not only help the newbies come in and know what to expect, but to make our jobs easier, to be honest. If you don't know, Illinois has 17 representatives and 2 senators, and it's a very big state. And you really realize that when you get out to DC and you're handed 19 folders and go, 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 right? So our job is to take our talking points and get out there and express our mission, our priorities with these legislators and help them hopefully make decisions that are good for all of our clients at the end of the day, right? They have hired a vendor to set our appointments, which at first I'm like, oh yeah, but not going to happen. I got 19 appointments to set. There's no way, right? But I sat in on yesterday's webinar and I am optimistically looking forward to this. if they pull this off, I will be ecstatic. I see it giving us more time to present our story instead of having to spend hours doing the logistics of you're going to this building and we're going to go to that building and trying to set all of that up. So for first timers, you don't realize the amount of collaboration that it takes to get this team up and going and get all of that information delivered. So I am super excited about that. Thought about, reaching back out to Michael Andel and saying, "Oh, you've got your 7 webinars. It's kind of like a mini series. Maybe we go Netflix. I don't know, but it's pretty exciting." So we will see how that goes. If anybody has any questions about Capital Conference, any interest there at all, or so forth, just reach out to me with any questions. I know that Sarah's going, TJ is going, Heather John is going this year. Keith and Susie, of course, will be there. So we're really looking forward to that. Okay, so legislatively on the federal level, if I were to make a slideshow, and I kind of had writer's block, if you will, because I thought I'll make some slides, but whatever. I mean, they've passed nothing, right? A lot of talk about advanced premium tax credits, enhanced premium tax credits. They've expired, and premiums have gone up nationally. I'm no expert across the country on individual health insurance premiums, but in Illinois, I think I might know what I'm talking about a little bit. But we've seen premiums go way, way up, of course. Silver premiums in Illinois went up 143%, which is a whole nother story about silver premium loading that we'll talk about. And then in general, other plans went up about roughly 30%, right? But tax credits, obviously in Illinois, for those folks under 400% of FPL, the tax credits are very, very large because of the silver premiums, because that's where the calculation starts. So there was late last week a bill that passed the House about extending the tax credits. However, it is not going to leave the Senate. It's really stalled out. The Senate is having conversations, several different ones. They're going all different directions still. You would think it's been a good 4 months that the heat has been on, that they've been talking about this, and they're still tossing around the same ideas. So, a little less talk and a lot more action is what we'd all like to see. But they're still tossing around ideas of maybe a 2-year extension, the HSA idea, which honestly, it's an HSA idea. Nobody knows how that would work. There's all kinds of nuances there. You can't use HSA dollars currently to pay premiums. So there's a whole revamp that would have to come with that. Some ideas of just reducing the eligibility. So, maybe not a 400% cap, maybe 600, maybe 700. We previously had no cap, right? So there's some talk about that too. But as I met with my Region 3 group yesterday, the talk was we don't see DC talking about this any longer than January. If something doesn't get done in the next few weeks, they're probably going to clam up and move on, right? And it'll be a year with no enhanced premium tax credits. It goes back to pre-COVID rules. I think we've talked about this over and over, but if anybody has any questions about what that means, again, feel free to reach out to one of us and we will share information. But so nothing really happening, lots of talking, nothing really happening out there. I will say that in a recent article I read, there is a hearing to happen on January 22nd. Congress has invited 4 insurance carriers out to this hearing to talk about healthcare costs and so forth. And also, I have read that there are 14 carriers invited by President Trump himself to have some private discussions about lowering the cost of healthcare. Well, isn't that interesting? So that's all I think all we ever when we meet as NABIP as a group and we look at this, how do we lower the cost of health insurance without lowering the cost of healthcare? Do we not always come back to that? Any heads shaking? Not shaking. Anyhow, so there's going to be some discussion there. We will see what comes from that. That's not the Trump meetings are nothing that I found anyway, nothing scheduled. There is, like I said, there's that hearing that is scheduled with 4 carriers from across the country for Congress to hear some of that information as well. We do expect that there's going to be some revision of price transparency rules, so we'll keep an eye on that. That's already a law, of course, but not implemented the best. So we think there's going to be some revisions there and some discussion around price transparency soon. CMS did put out a snapshot of individual enrollments, and there's somewhere around 20 million enrollments nationally on the individual market. Discussing this with the group yesterday, none of us believe that number. It's way too preliminary. With what is going on, I would expect a lot of that number to be much, much lower in the next few weeks or month or so as people drop off. There's been a lot of, I know, just speaking personally from my block of business, I'm starting to see some of those that have had their head in the sand for the last 3 months finally reach out to me, because you know what it takes? It takes money coming out of their bank account for them to pay attention. So I would say our enrollment numbers are probably much less than 20 million across the country. I am anxious to have the next meeting with Get Covered Illinois. I know we have about a 433,000 member or insured block on that in the individual market in Illinois, and about 60% of that is taken care of by brokers. So kudos to you guys for taking care of so many individuals. It really does make us a priority at Get Covered Illinois. I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, and we're butting heads and trying to learn a new system, and it is way more integrated with Medicaid than it's ever been in the past. So I know I've talked to a lot of brokers, myself included, that learning more about Medicaid than I ever have before in that market as it crosses over. But that, we take care of 60% of that business. So they have made us a priority to keep us involved on Get Covered Illinois. That's for sure. While we're on the Illinois subject and Get Covered Illinois, they did extend open enrollment to the end of the month for February 1st effective dates. I have heard nothing about taking it further. But we'll keep you posted there if anything happens. So no longer January 15th, January 31st, we just keep plugging away at this open enrollment. And so we'll see where that lands. There is the 2027 proposed rule from CMS that was put out a few months ago. In the middle of AEP, so I don't know anybody that's dropped everything they're doing to go out and read that, except for maybe a couple of the FMOs out there. I know that Amanda Bruton and maybe SMS have put out some information on what that proposed rule looks like. I did shout out to Calvin Bagley, if you're not familiar with him, on LinkedIn. He is very much making it easy for us agents and brokers to make comments on the CMS final rule. So you might look him up if you're in the Medicare space. He's used AI to create some responses. And he basically said that last year when he talked to CMS, their first response to him was that they didn't hear much out of agents and brokers, so it must not be that big of a deal. Wow. right? And but he's not wrong. I mean, you go out there and it's how do I compose this response? Who's it going to? Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying, am I saying things right, wrong, whatever? But he has put out some a system to do these responses, and the goal is to get 500 agents to respond to the CMS proposed rule. So I wanted to mention that this morning. And again, if you're in the Medicare space, take a look at it. I know that there are some positives in that proposed rule as far as removing the 48-hour scope requirement, reducing the number of years that we have to keep call recordings from 10 years to 6 years. Amen. Keep it coming, right? But there's still a lot of work to be done. So please take a look at Calvin's post there if need be. And see, TJ, I talk too much. I talk too much. I'm over time, and there you are.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Missy. Yeah. So from 10 years to 6 years, is that really going to make a difference?
Uh,
I mean, I don't know.
it will for the storage of my.
That's true. Yeah, less terabytes or whatever. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Missy. No, you're fine. Timing's fine. No problem at all. Don't worry about it. If you have any questions about laws or things that you've heard or seen on the news, you're not sure, Missy is a great resource. She understands all of this stuff. So
I don't know if I
appreciate.
understand it all, but I can tell you what they're saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Big difference. You're right
Yeah.
about that. Big difference. Thank you so much, Missy.
Great.
All right, now we're going to give kudos to another one of our sponsors. Again, we really appreciate our sponsors, CE Credits, and so much of NABIP, what NABIP does is because insurance carriers, vendors, partners, sponsors step up and really spend money to make NABIP go, grease the wheels. So we appreciate that so much. So we're going to give our attention to Sherry Kirksey. She works at iSolved, and she'll talk to us about the many perks that iSolved can offer. So the floor is yours, Sherry.
Thank you, TJ. I am still just trying to get this situated. I'm working with just like one screen over here today, so it's always a little challenging when that happens. But thank you guys. As TJ mentioned, I'm from iSolved, and this is just going to be just a very high-level overview of what iSolved does. Some of you have heard of iSolved, some of you have not heard of iSolved. I'm a sales executive here, and I have been here at iSolved for about 5 years, but a little about me. I have been a licensed insurance broker since back when the earth was cooling, quite frankly. Been a long time, probably longer than most of us on the call here. A couple of fun facts. I was born in a town called Summit, Illinois. And what's cool about Summit is that in 1927, Ernest Hemingway wrote a short story called The Killers. And it was about a bunch of mobsters. Chicago has always had that reputation of being, mobsters, gangsters. Most of our governors end up making license plates after their terms here in Illinois. But in any event, The Killers was based on a couple of mobsters in Chicago that hid out in a small town called Summit, which is where I grew up. So that's very cool. And they actually ended up making it into a movie in the 1940s and then again in the 1960s. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So here at iSolved, we do a lot, and I am going to talk about it a little again, a high-level overview. I work in the benefit services side of iSolved, but iSolved, as you will see, has many tentacles. And every year we do like an annual state of the broker, if you will. And in 2025, we did our broker research, and I just wanted to share some of the insights that we found. So surveyed last year 1,000 brokers, and here are some of the results that we found. This is just a high level overview of what the results were. Price, of course, is the number one thing with brokers, as Missy just talked about. There's a lot of movement now with price, not just in the individual market, though, but in the group space as well. There's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of people talking about creative plans, HRAs, and other things that can be implemented to help with that. But these are these are the top concerns for brokers as of last year. This slide is a little bit hard to read, but I can certainly share this with you post event. The blue is what brokers are currently offering, and the pink is what they intend to offer. So if you take a look at those insights, the number one thing that most brokers, again, this I work in the benefit services space, so we don't work with PNC brokers or anything. We work strictly in that benefit space. So out of the brokers that we work with, 60% of them currently now are offering health insurance. And then they are concerned with COBRA, and these are the ones that I'm not going to go through every single category here, but as you can see, health insurance is a top concern, ACA top concern, and then outside of that, it's other products like FSAs, HSAs, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And so if we talk about the biggest thing with brokers, we're talking about health insurance and how they actually can pair that with TPAs. That's what iSolved actually is. iSolved was born, it'll be 40 years ago. What happened is in 1986, President Reagan, I have a slide that's going to talk about that. But in 1986, President Reagan passed the COBRA law. People were confused about it. So two insurance brokers got together and formed iSolved. iSolved was technically born on a farm in Coldwater, Michigan. So there are three types of TPAs that you can talk about. There are boutique TPAs, which is certainly where iSolve started. And then there are large TPAs out there that focus on tech, automation, that type of thing. And then iSolve, we're kind of like that Goldilocks middle, is what I like to say. And we are high touch and high tech focused as well. What's happening with a lot of TPAs is that they are eliminating layers of service, and iSolve is actually increasing layers of service. So that separates us as well. We are a great place to work. And I think that's important because if you have happy employees, you have happy service. I mean, have you ever called a company or worked with a company where the employees don't like what they're doing and they're unhappy? That kind of comes through in the service. And I can attest for that. So as I was saying before, iSolve, we're going to be turning 40 years old this year. So this is another fun fact that I just found out last month. In conjunction with our benefit services, our payroll side, we have network partners. iSolve actually touches 1 out of every 20 employees in the country, which is a pretty impressive number. So here, this is just kind of like iSolve by the numbers. We have a very high customer retention. In fact, I talk to brokers that have brought groups over like in the late 90s or early 2000 that are still customers with iSolved. So I think that speaks to the level of service here and happiness. These are a bunch of logos. These are logos that everyone knows because if I put Acme Corporation of Tennessee up here, no one probably would know that logo. But what I think is important to mention is that even though we work with large companies, our niche is still smaller companies. We work with a lot of groups under 50 and even under 20. That's where we first got started. And we've noticed that what's accelerating is a lot of carriers and TPAs that no longer want to work with smaller groups under 100, under 50 lives. So while we always are happy to have the large brands, I think our average group is probably still in that like 20 to 100 life space. If you talk about the services that we offer on the benefit services side of iSolved, I'm not going to go through all of these. Again, this is a busy slide. Essentially, we offer flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts, health reimbursement accounts. Under the umbrella of health reimbursement accounts are ICHRA and QSERA as well, which are becoming very popular. Again, because of those price concerns that a lot of clients are experiencing, a lot of small groups and large groups as well. We offer Section 125 POP documents. We can help with non-discrimination testing. Family leave is becoming a big thing now. But essentially, what we're trying to do at iSolved is reduce your risk, grow your client base, and help you protect your book of business. So this slide, again, lots of information going on here, but all I would really like to say is this is, we call it our People Cloud, and this is our HCM offering. And what this slide is showing you is all of the different modules. So at iSolved, all of our services can be bought as a system or they can be purchased a la carte. So all of these attract and hire, onboard, payroll. Payroll is our number one seller, obviously. iSolve doesn't like it when I say this, but essentially we can do everything that ADP does on this side of the house of iSolve. I can't provide you with quotes, but I can loop you in with my colleagues and they can help you. So if you have any clients that are looking to get payroll quotes and you're like, oh, I don't want to work with ADP or I don't want to work with one of the Ps, Paylocity, Paycor, Paychex, feel free to reach out to iSolve. We can assist with you there. And then just to wrap up here, I am going to wrap up with just a short commercial, and then I think my time will be up. But I wanted to talk about affordable, portable alternative coverage. This is where you can actually help your clients save on their premiums. So I'm going to run this commercial, TJ, and then I am going to wrap up.
Without question, being separated from employment can be an emotionally stressful experience. On top of this, navigating the COBRA process can easily evoke feelings of uncertainty, financial strain, and resignation. Just surrendering to the pressure of needing to maintain healthcare coverage despite financial challenges. Let's look at how iSolved Portable Alternative Coverage offers more intelligence, empathy, and options, all to comfortably guide participants to easily make the best healthcare continuation decisions for themselves and their families. Upon signing in, your participants will meet Jamie, their AI-powered assistant. Utilizing their current plan information and other inputs, Jamie finds and presents several curated health insurance plan options that better reflect their healthcare needs in comparison with their COBRA plan. In partnership with healthcare.gov and top health insurance carriers, these options include ACA, Affordable Care Act, private medical, and short-term plans. After reviewing personalized plans and comparing them against their current COBRA option, participants can enroll directly in their newly selected plan. And should more assistance be needed, a Spanish and English-speaking team of certified professionals are just a phone call away. On top of expanded plan options and potentially increased savings for participants, iSolve Portable Alternative Coverage offers organizations the opportunity to save on insurance premiums while reducing risk and elevating their employer brand through a better exit experience. Take an innovative step towards advancing the future of your organization.
All right, guys. And so that's basically it for me. If you guys have any questions post-event, feel free to reach out. I will drop my contact information in the chat. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sherry. Outstanding. I think really iSolved what's really nice about this. Earlier, Susie talked about, all these platforms. Sometimes you can have so many platforms and you can't remember, wait, did they get their COBRA here? Is there FSA over there? Where's their HRA? That'd make me crazy. So iSolve's a place you can go. It's all in the same place. That's really nice. So, and that PAC thing's really cool as well. Great stuff. Thank you, Sherry, and appreciate your support so very much. Okay, poll question number 2 is up. So here it is. This is an easy one. Share something you're looking forward to in 2026. That's all you got to do. Put it in the chat. Okay, for me, Bears win. Okay, Bears win on Sunday. But share something you're looking forward to in 2026. Drop it in the chat. See, someone's already on it. Bears win. I love it. Here we go. Coming in.
Bears versus the Seahawks. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, whatever, Keith. Whatever. No, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right. Now let's go and give our attention to Keith. So Keith is the national. He's on the national level. So we got Keith's big time. He's on the national level on the board of trustees. He's the national secretary. And let me tell you a little bit about Keith. So I met Keith at a national conference, and it was him and his wife, and I was there with my wife. And we met, and I kid you not, within 30 minutes, we were in a pub all having a beer together, laughing, having a good time.
Yeah.
That's Keith. Keith is the kind of person that just pulls you in, and you're part of his family. So I love it about Keith, but he does a lot of great stuff in our industry. We appreciate that. So let's give our attention to Keith. Leadership lessons. It's all
Wow.
yours, Keith.
Thank you, TJ. I feel the same, and that was a fun time. When you meet TJ and you get to know him, you feel like you met your brother, right, or your favorite cousin. And so I'm excited to be here. I want to give a shout out to TJ and Sarah Walker Height, who's your regional vice president. And I know Lou Reginelli's on the call. Lou, and he's a past RVP, and of course Alicia Riedel's on the call. She is our current immediate past president and the chair of our governance committee. And I've got what, 20 minutes, TJ? Yeah, I could talk for hours. So, I'm just gonna give you who I am and what my NABIP story is, and the lessons in leadership will come along the way. But I'll just tell you a little bit about my history and what's going on here. So, I've been a member of NABIP for over 20 years. I've served at every level, the local level, the state level. So I started as the local legislative chair. I was a member, and somebody asked me, "Hey, would you like to be our ledge chair?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what that means, but tell me more about it." And they said, "Well, we'll send you out to Capitol Conference." I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds cool." And so when I went to CapCon for the very first time, I sat in a room with 900 people, and I felt like I'd found my family. I was like, "I'm home," right? Until then, I was just one health insurance guy working inside of a PNC agency, feeling alone and on an island, probably like some of you feel today. And my goal today is, if I reach just one of you to become more inspired to serve NABIP in a leadership position, that will be my lesson learned today. Then I became the local president in Washington State. Then became the state president. I was the national membership chair. I was the national chapter leadership chair, the Region 8 vice president. And then it was interesting. So now I'm the secretary, and I ran for this position last year. And it's funny, I didn't run because I felt like it was my time. Frankly, it was a little early than the time that I felt like I was supposed to run. But I ran because I felt an obligation to our association to show that members who care about our association should step up and lead. And for many years previously, when the role of secretary was filled and the secretary eventually becomes the president, there were uncontested elections. People were just being anointed these positions, right? And if somebody heard that another person was running, they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to run against them because they're a good leader too." And probably a lot of you know David Mordo, right? And I decided that David Mordo was going to run, and nothing against David, but I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to run for secretary because I need to help people understand that we need to have passion. And quite honestly, I didn't expect to win. And I had many people tell me, "You're running against Mordo, you're not going to win." And I get it. Mordo is a much beloved figure in our association. But I did probably about 50 calls like this around the country during chapter meetings where I was presenting my ideas. And a funny thing happened on the way. I started to actually really understand and believe what I was saying. And it's not that I didn't believe it before. It's just that, it just became such a part of the fabric of what I was telling people that I was like, you know what? I actually think that I do have something to contribute. So down in Miami, we had the election, yada, 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 won the vote, and here I am. So I know I'm talking a lot about myself right now. Just wanted to let you know a little bit about who I am. But what I want to do today is I want to bridge the gap between some of you that are at the local or state level that may not have the view of the national level that you could have. And I can't tell you how many times a piece of information was unveiled to me, and I was like, I had no idea. One of the earliest memories was we had somebody come out from national and speak to our local meeting name. Oh gosh, his name eludes me right now. It'll come to me. But I was like, who is this guy? Who's this guy coming in and representing NABIP? We're NABIP, right? And I didn't understand really the levels of what we have as an association. So what I'm going to do today I always did this on my membership calls, but I'm going to walk you through our website, and I'm walk you through a lot of the details and things that we have available on the website that I think that you're going to find very helpful. Get this screen reduced here, but we're good there. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the mission vision statement and just kind of educate you a little bit about what we're trying to do. Our job is, we're health insurance employee benefits professionals, and we're working diligently to ensure all Americans have high access to affordable quality healthcare and related services. So that's the mission vision statement. You hear people complain about our website. I don't really get it. I think our website's pretty awesome. Yeah, it probably needs to be updated, but I'm going to run you through some things that I think will be really helpful for you. So when you hover over the three bars on the top left, you'll see all these different things you can choose from. We've actually created a hot sheet at the membership level that'll really get you to the ones that you probably want to dial in on. But what I want to do is I want to introduce you to, first and foremost, our staff directory, because these are the people who actually are employees of NABIP. They work at NABIP for you, for us. So we have our CEO, Jessica Brooks Woods, and then the person that I am also most favorable towards is Brooke Wilson. Brooke Wilson really is the backbone of this association. So Brooke does all the nominations, she does all the meetings, just great. So if you don't know who these people are, take some time to familiarize yourself with their faces, their names, and then when you get a chance to meet them along the way, you'll be like, wow, okay, that person actually works for NABIP. The other thing I want to introduce you to is the Board of Trustees. So when you join the Board of Trustees, you're taking on the obligation and the duty of managing the association. And that's where I find myself now. And I got to tell you, is for all the experience that I have, I had no idea the complexity of what it takes to actually run this business. So kudos to Alicia and Susan and Michael Walker and David Saltzman as the past president and all the people that are serving at the regional level. So you've got on the executive board, you've got an immediate past president, you've got your current president, your president-elect, your vice president, and your secretary treasurer. There's typically a treasurer and a secretary, but we had some turnover on the board, so I've got the fun-filled duty of doing both. And frankly, I find them both to be great. I'm enjoying being the treasurer because I like numbers and it's interesting. Then you've got your regional representatives. So these are people who have demonstrated that they're leaders. They're willing to commit to, being part of the solution of providing content. Essentially, the regional people talk to the state presidents, and then the state presidents talk to the local presidents, and then the local presidents talk to their committees. And everywhere along the way, there are committees as well that I'm going to show you. But our regional vice president in Region 1 is Bill Stewart. Region 2, Alexis Bruni. Region 3, Sarah Walker Height. Region 4, Callie Ideas. Region 5, which is down in the Florida area, Angela Malarski. Region 6, Chuck Rosen out of Texas. Region 7, Charlene Hoagland out of Arizona. Region 8, Patrick Burns out of California area. And then you've got our Legislative Council Chair, Samantha. And then we've got our Membership Chair, Val Kramer. And then we've got our Professional Development Chair, Nedra Klingon. So when you serve one of these positions, you are on the Board of Trustees for NABIP. And that, again, is not a job that is taken lightly. And like Susie said, it's the obligation of the person who's taking the job to understand really what it is that they're doing, right? And but I got to tell you, again, it's hard to know what you don't know. And stepping into some of these positions, you're like, wow, this is just so much more complex than I thought it was. And along the way, so at every level of local, state, and regional, you're going to have these different committees. So we've got the DEI committee, we've got the Leadership Development Committee, we've got the Legislative Council, the LPRT committee, the Marketing Communications Committee, Membership Recognition, Membership Council, Membership Recognition is awards, and the PAC Board, Nominations, Election Committee, and Professional Development. So if anytime that you're just trying to learn more about who we are and what we're doing, you can click into here. You can find out who the national chairs are, who the vice chairs are. And the way that it works is that you're a chair and then you're a vice chair going in. But before that, you're a manager, which gives you a chance just to observe and kind of get your feet wet and understand what's going on. And then within these committees, you'll see that there are different board liaisons that come from, so as secretary, I serve on different committees just as a liaison. So again, this might seem elementary to some of you. You might be like, why is he taking the time to go through this? It's because I think we all need to understand that we're part of something greater than ourselves, something bigger than ourselves, right? And if you ever want to find a chapter, this is actually one of my favorite links right here. So if I ever want to find a chapter and find out who's leading a chapter, let's say maybe I get a lead in an area that I want to refer to, and I want to, find out who the membership chair is, because that's often a very active person. Hopefully this link will come up, but it's lagging, but here we go. So find a chapter. So you got chapter websites, you've got officer dues search, national committee chairs. So let's just say I'm trying to find somebody in Illinois because I got a client that moved there and I want to make an introduction to somebody. There's also a way you can do that using find an agent, but I prefer to go to the leadership positions. because in the leadership position, you're going to find the people that are more engaged doing more of the work. So you'll see here that for Illinois statewide, Sarah Walker Height, dual duty of RVP and president. You've got President-elect TJ Bullock here. I think I said that right. Past President Lou. So, for instance, again, if I was going to send a referral, I probably would reach out to the membership chair or the president and say, hey, I've got somebody that needs help in your area. Can you help me out with that? And so this is a really great resource that you can find people in any chapter. The other cool thing is that you can actually see when you're looking at these chapters what the dues are. And why that's interesting is that dues are different amongst all the different chapters. So the baseline dues to national are $378, and then the local and state chapters are receiving a different amount of money, which is frankly quite a bit smaller. So, to be illustrative, like here's the Illinois chapter, right? If I actually go over here to California, you'll see that California has built a dues structure that is different. And so they've got their California statewide dues are 230 versus 378. California is a very active community of agents. They build into those dues the ability for them to travel every year to get to an annual meeting together. And so that's one of the things that I like to really look at. But again, if you ever really want to also find an agent, you can use up here under right here, find an agent. So for instance, if you're like, okay, gosh, I'd like to find somebody that lives in a certain state or zip code, or let's just say that, hey, gosh, I remember meeting this guy. Where does he live again? I can just type in the last name and I can go find NABIP members. And there you go. It brings up TJ. Soaring Eagle. Quick mention on this. Soaring Eagle, when you join LPRT, and you're a Soaring Eagle, it puts you at the top of this display. So again, as you're trying to find people to refer business to, that's one of the ways that you can do that. And so that's, to me, probably a very interesting thing. And then I really want to touch on policies, procedures, and bylaws. So if you haven't taken the time to read our bylaws or our policies and procedures, I really encourage you to do so. This is basically like your syllabus at school, right? This is how you run the association. So you ever want to know about, hey, what's the stipend that the president gets? There it is. If you ever want to know, hey, what about the payments to dues and locals? There you can find it. So this is really your way of understanding how the association works. And if you're one of the people that really wants to dig into that, this is a great resource for you to do that. The other way that you can do that, and I think I just went like that, so I'm gonna go back over here to NABIP, NABIP. And I'll just go brand new. The other thing that I want people to look at is the bylaws. So again, one of those things about it is that if you haven't taken the time to read the bylaws of your state and local, this is a way that you can, see what it takes to actually run this association, the purpose of our association, what our membership is all about, advocacy, local and executive directors. So again, these are the tools that you can use to find out more about your association. And I did actually want to show this here. You may not know this, but we have a microsite. So if you're ever actually trying to recruit somebody and they're like, well, what is NABIP and what do they do? Most people don't know about this. It's just welcome to nabip.org. Very simple. And this is what a brand new member receives. It's, how to get started. So you create your login for your website, what email communications you're going to get. Talks about the BIP quarterly magazine, how you can stay connected, our legislative value, the compliance corner webinars, networking with your peers like we're doing today, our capital conference and annual convention, professional development that you have available, education information, membership discounts, etc. So think about this as a recruiting tool. And I don't have the chat open because I'm a single screen guy today too. So if anybody wants to tell me what any questions are being made or comments, I'd love to receive those. So again, and I'm kind of getting close on time, so I want to kind of hit some of the highlights here. But the other thing is that over here under chapter resources, membership is, where you renew and do all that stuff. But under chapter resources, a lot of people don't really understand that we have guidebooks on how to do the job. So anybody that is actually doing any kind of committee position, you can find your guidebooks here that basically inform you on how to do the job. This one needs to be updated, it looks like. But for instance, what region are you in? What are our regions? What are they constructed of? And so again, this is a tool that you can use that would really benefit you in any of your positions that you're filling. And then you've got chapter tools. Now, under chapter tools, I want to touch on something that may not speak to everybody who's not in leadership right now, but it may speak to you in the future. We have what's called a chapter certification form. This is the holy grail on how to run your local chapter. So we provide an award based on the criteria of meeting a certain number of these. So if you satisfy 6 of these 14 items, you get a silver certification. If you satisfied 9 of these, you get gold. And then the ultimate is the platinum certification where you've fulfilled all 14. And so again, when it comes to our association, just understanding who we are and how we do it, we have to have a president-elect, a secretary, a treasurer, a membership retention, legislative chair, PD chair. You have to have your bylaws updated. You have to have a state PAC with an IRS determination letter. You have to have a lobbyist contract that's signed. You have to have a strategic plan. You hold a certain number of meetings. You have a budget. You go for net membership growth. You've got, everybody should be giving hopefully at minimum of $10 a month for the PAC. And, the funny thing about the PAC is sometimes people don't give because they think that they can't determine where the money goes. You can give to the administration fund, which supports the people that do the work for us. Directors and officers liability insurance, you got to make sure that's in there. And then the other thing too, and this is going to be close to the end of my conversation, you got to promote LPRT, Triple Crown, and certification programs. Triple Crown is where you have recruited 2 new members, given $150 a year, and done 3 operation shouts. And you can learn more about those programs there. So because I want to honor the time that we have together and I don't want to go over, I just want to give you an idea of who we are, because again, if I felt that way, like, who are these people from National? It was Trey. Trey was the guy that came. No, anyways, but get to know us. And when you go to Capitol Conference and you see us being cliquish because we know each other, come up and say hello. I got to tell you, just in closing, one of the most awkward moments in my NABIP career is when I showed up at Capitol Conference, before I sat in the room and met anybody, and I saw all these people in the bar hugging each other and kissing each other like Susie and I do, and high-fiving like TJ and I do. And I thought to myself, you know what? These people don't know me. And I had to take that step forward and say, hi, I'm Keith. Nice to meet you. But also, now that I remember that experience, when I see somebody standing in the corner, I go over and I say, hey, get over here. We need to talk. We need to get to know you. And so again, NABIP relies on leadership. If you're not in leadership now, the lesson is that the tools that you learn in the leadership program of NABIP are totally transferable to what you're doing. I'm sitting at home office of a company that absorbed us with 5,000 employees. I have risen to the top of a platform because of the leadership skills that I've developed with NABIP. I'm serving on the high risk pool that I was appointed by our governor. And again, I'm talking about myself, but I'm just trying to show you that professional development through NABIP is as good as any college course or curriculum that you're going to go to. And it's just going to make you so much stronger in all the things that you do in your rest of your day-to-day life. So, you might say, look, I'm too busy for leadership. Make time for leadership, because it is going to benefit you in so many other ways that you have no idea. So that's what I got to say about now. And I'd love to hear from you, either on email or text or anything like that. But TJ, thanks a lot for the opportunity to do this.
Oh, absolutely. That's great stuff, Keith. Missy, you had a question? Or are you just high-fiving Keith?
Yes, a quick question for Keith. What kind of tips, and I know this is probably a loaded question, but what kind of tips can you give somebody trying to figure out how to balance their career with volunteerism?
Yeah, I won't deny that when people say they want to get involved, I caution them. Like, I literally probably right now this is the big level with secretary, treasurer, and ongoing stuff. I probably spend about 2 hours a day on NABIP. And but my advice would be that you should schedule the time that you're going to give to NABIP, right? So if you're worried about it taking too much time, schedule it. Make it an hour on Friday, make it a half hour on Tuesday. And like Susie said, be comfortable saying, look, no, I'm not going to step up to that position yet. Like, I'm not borrowing your charging cable just so that I can be state president like Robert Slayton, right? So, and I love that 33 ways to not make a mistake on health insurance, Robert. I saw that in your background. Any other questions?
All right.
Well, I want to thank Alicia Riedel. She was the one that asked me if I ever thought about running for, secretary. So thank you, Alicia. And a lot of times that's just what it takes, is somebody asking you whether you would consider doing this. And so thank you very much to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Keith. Outstanding presentation. There's so much NABIP does, so much on that website, and we just got to get in there and start poking around and learning from it. Great stuff. You really showed us a lot of great stuff, and your personal story really resonates. Outstanding. And I feel the same way. Susie Alberts grabbed me by the hand at some point and said, "Come on, let's do this NABIP thing." And Sarah Walker. Okay, great. Let's hear from another one of our sponsors. Again, we thank you so much for the sponsors, Principal, iSolved, and Angle Health. Now, when you're quoting your small groups or mid-sized groups and so forth, sometimes it might feel like, in Casablanca, round up the usual suspects, right? If you've seen that movie, you know that line. Angle Health is not. So we're going to give our attention to Liz Wilson. She's a vice president of sales for Angle Health, and we'll learn a little bit about Angle Health.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting us join. I actually have my colleague here too, who's on the screen. I'm Liz Wilson. I'm the VP of Sales for Angle Health for the Midwest territory. Joined here by Melvin Ayers, who is the benefits consultant on the team who manages all of Illinois. Melvin, I'll let you say hi.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having us again. Yes, like Liz says, I manage Illinois, but I don't only manage Illinois, I manage the Midwest. So pretty much everything west of Illinois, including Wisconsin. So I'm your go-to guy. I've helped TJ plenty of times getting groups over the finish line, but I help you on the front end, whether that's you need rate relief, you need better, a better or you need a different contract, or you just need some education on the product. I'm here for you to help you get that group across the finish line.
Hey, Melvin, why is your background so much cooler than Liz's? What's going on here? That's what I want to know.
Mine is like the iteration from months ago, and then they upped the ante and made it way cooler, and I'm still back in like 1982.
Fun fact, one of our VPs actually used AI to design my background. So that's pretty cool.
It's got a little bit of Stranger Things vibe too, which is kind of cool,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, can everyone see a big purple screen? I just want to make sure I did that correctly for you all.
You can.
Okay,
Yes, we got you.
terrific. I'm going to share a few slides because I think that it's more interesting than staring at Melvin and I, but really this is just a chance to introduce ourselves real quickly. This has been a great meeting, by the way. So much valuable information. I don't live in Illinois, but I absolutely want to participate more because this has been a really great group and a lot of great shared ideas and thoughts. So kudos to all of you. We're just trying to add a little bit of additional content in terms of what you guys have access to that maybe you don't know of yet or have heard about but haven't tried. So we're going to take a few minutes today to introduce you to Angle Health. So Angle Health is actually what we like to call a tech company, but it's kind of funny because truly in our space, we are another carrier entity, another option. So just gonna talk a little bit more through what that looks like exactly. So who is Angle? We've coined this funny little term here, purple is the new blue, but we mean it. So everything that you're familiar with a buka, the things that people like about the buka, but with the flexibility, transparency, and performance of a much more elevated level funded solution. So at Angle, we're not just the carrier, we are the risk taker and the claims payer, acting as the carrier, the MGU, and the TPA. So our focus is in removing the burden of procuring and managing and accessing employer-sponsored healthcare with our AI-enabled full stack platform. So on this screen, we kind of illustrated here, right? You've got the Buka fully insured on the left, Buka level funded, then you've got Angle level funded right in the middle. Not that disconnected TPA stop loss model. Everything at Angle is in one place. Our underwriting is proprietary inside Angle, our account management, our administrative services. Everything is in one place, which makes us extremely fast and extremely flexible. So when I talk about Angle, I often refer to kind of 4 pillars that I like people to think of when they think of Angle Health. So first, you've got far enhanced flexibility from any other carrier partner in the market today for that small to medium sized group. We do tend to focus on 5 belly buttons enrolled to about 115 employees enrolled. We can go higher, we don't have a cap, but that is going to be our sweet spot. And what we deliver for those small to medium sized businesses are something I think we've all been so hungry for. One, like I was referencing, our flexibility. So I'll talk real quickly about what that means from Angle's perspective. Many options for how to quote with us, So first, you can send quote requests to Melvin and myself. Easy to reach. I'm liz@anglehealth.com. Melvin is melvin.ayers@anglehealth.com. Made it a little bit more difficult for him. I don't know why. Or, we do have an online quote self-quoting platform where at any time of day you can log in and run your own quotes, receiving firm underwritten rates back in a matter of minutes. So the flexibility piece is that easy to quote, fast to quote, and you've got options for how you want to get it done. I think a more significant layer to that flexibility is illustrated on this screen. So instead of being the carrier solution that says, hey, we've got this, does your client fit us? We're saying, broker, come to Angle and build the plan you need for your client for that year. And it can change over time. So we've got a number of network options. We're planning on adding roughly 10 to 20 in 2026, but currently the network solutions, we rent the Cigna and Aetna national PPO networks, First Health, and a variety of regional networks and direct contracts, such as Nomi Health High Performance 3-tiered direct contract. It's not available in every state yet, but it is available in many. So when you come to Angle, you can pick your network, or you don't even have to tell us what network you want. Our algorithm will automatically pull the most competitive network for that group based on their demographics. Same thing with PBM. Pick your PBM. Pick your cost share. You want a $999 deductible for the group? Great. We are happy to build that plan for you. We will underwrite and quote it, and we will administer it for you. So you've got a lot of flexibility in what is the actual plan design and structure, which is unusual in that small to medium-sized group space. I think the next piece, outside of flexibility, I'm going to then jump to transparency. Look at this scorecard. So one of the things, if you take away anything from these few minutes with Angle today, this scorecard is a game changer. So when I say we're transparent, I mean we are transparent up front during the underwriting process, illustrating what we saw when we reviewed the group. And this level of data and transparency is available to you every single day on any group you have with Angle Health. You have access to a portal where you can go in and track basically in real time claims, everything that's going on, how the plan's running, etc. So you are no longer in that kind of chokehold of crossing your fingers 3 months before renewal, especially with small groups being like, well, we have no idea, but let's all cross our fingers and hope we get a good renewal here because they don't share any information. This scorecard, as long as there's 10 enrolled on a plan, Angle Health is able to populate this scorecard for you on every group you quote with us, whether we're competitive or not. And it's literally just offered to you as a value add. So you can go back to your client or prospect and have a much more constructive conversation about why the rates are the way they are because of the actual data of what's going on in the health of the group. So here you can see we've got, high cost claimants by tier, high cost conditions, prescription utilization. It gives you just so much more of an understanding of what's going on within that population so that you can help really advise your client or prospect on what's going to be the best path forward for them for that year. And again, this is whether we might have a $4,000 employee only rate because the group is got some stuff going on. We're still going to give you this scorecard so that you can have something valuable. And it's a thank you to you for letting Angle look at it, look at the group with you at all. We're not asking you to say, oh, don't send us anything that isn't a healthy group. We're not giving you that parameter. We're saying send us everything you got in that 5 to 115 space, and let's take a look at it together. So then the next piece I'm going to jump to real quick, which is a personally one of my most significant pillars I love to talk about with Angle. And this is our advocacy component. I think a real disconnect in our space is, as I'm sharing today, right? We're really trying to offer all the things that have kind of been missing: that flexibility, transparency, advocacy, and sustainability. From an advocacy perspective, we have an entire team of people that are mining the data of our groups across the country to look for opportunities to engage further with our members especially the members who might need it the most. So, of course, when we're going through the underwriting process, we are going to potentially identify members with high cost conditions or in need of high cost medications. We're going to proactively reach out to those members to engage quickly and offer support. And there's a whole variety of tooling that advocacy team has access to support members, ensuring they go get the care that they need, but also at the best facilities and at the lowest cost. It's, I think, a lot of kind of carriers historically have kind of just been the bill payer, and they're not actually committed to helping members really have a better healthcare journey and have better healthcare outcomes. We are very much focused on the healthcare outcomes of our member and doing everything we can to support them in that process. Chronic conditions don't happen overnight, guys. I think we can all agree. But holy moly, we've got a lot of increased illness, sickness, chronic conditions around the country, high cost medications being prescribed, and offered like Tic Tacs. We have to get in front of it together. And this advocacy team is such a huge benefit of what we're offering to our groups around the country to really help improve healthcare outcomes and keep costs down. And then the last thing I'll share too with that kind of cost structure and trying to keep costs down, the prescription piece, right? This is one of the highest cost drivers in America today on any health plan. Angle is deploying every tool we can to assist in bringing those costs down. So whether it's members getting free or discounted medications with prescription assistance programs from pharmaceutical companies, coupons or copay cards. My personal favorite is that international sourcing solution. We have a growing list of specialty medications that we internationally source from tier 1 countries like Canada and the UK. These are often the exact same medication being re-imported into the US at a fraction of the cost, which of course benefits the plan overall, but the member receives that medication at their door at no cost share to them. So again, to wrap up real quickly, I know we only had a few minutes together today, but if you think of Angle, please think of us as that carrier solution for small to medium-sized businesses, tech savvy, tech forward. We've got more tools, flexibility, transparency, advocacy, and sustainability. We've been averaging single-digit renewals for a few years now because what we're doing is working. So I look forward to an opportunity to hopefully share more about Angle with you, run some quotes for you, do some more business together. Melvin and I are here to help in any way that we can.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you so much, Melvin. You're both outstanding, very responsive. And I've got some business with Angle Health. I can tell you that scorecard is the game changer. You walk into a 10 life client and show them a scorecard, they've never seen anything like that before. They just get a renewal. That's a really cool thing. And I agree with the renewals. I haven't had anything over 7%. So, whew, man, it's awesome. Okay, very good. Yeah, the great stuff. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. Okay, next question, poll question number 3. Let's just drop this quick. This is an easy one. Are you currently a member of NABIP? Currently a member of NABIP. So, and if you are not, please don't feel guilty putting no down. We love that you're here. We absolutely love that you're here. And maybe this session today will move you to think about, hey, I'm going to become a member. But whether you're a member or not, we are so appreciative that you carved out some time here. Okay, now we're going to give our attention to our immediate past president, Alicia Riedel. And let me just say this, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but employee benefits, consultants, insurance people in general tend to be type A, kind of out, feel strong feelings about things and so forth. And somehow Alicia, as the president of this whole thing nationally, has to herd all these cats together and get them moving in the right direction, in the same direction. And she did a beautiful job. And just a little insight to Alicia. I asked her to do this today. We asked her to do this today. And she wrote back in such a kind, self-effacing way, like she's so honored that we're asking her. And we're like, are you kidding me? You're the past president. You got like a million things to do. And but she's honored to be with us. So that tells you a little bit about Alicia. So Alicia, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much for what you do and continue to do. And her topic is leadership under pressure.
Yeah, timely, right? Thank you, TJ. I really appreciate being here. Can everybody see my screen? I want to check that first. Nod head. Yep. Okay, good. So thank you, TJ. Thank you, Illinois chapter, Sarah, Susie, Keith. All of you are people I look up to in this chapters. I do want to say I would say Minnesota is the Midwest as well, because I kind of heard earlier that the region that you're in is the Midwest, all of it. Well, Minnesota is the Midwest, and we're in Region 4. So let's be partners because we're all Midwesterners here. So as TJ said, I am Alicia Riedel, and I am the immediate past president of NABIP. And professionally, I am a benefits consultant. I've spent my entire career working with employers, members, carriers, advisors to solve real problems inside what I think we can all agree is a very complex system. I've worked with large national firms across many markets, actually spent a lot of time in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, as I had Meyer and Spartan Nash, which are both headquartered in Grand Rapids, as clients for many years. And so love Michigan for that reason. I've helped a lot of clients in different capacities. So my family owns a small agency here in Minnesota. So it's been in my blood since I was born, basically. My brother and sister-in-law still run that firm after my dad, who was a huge NABIP guy, passed away unexpectedly in 2018. Really, I focus on helping people make better decisions in healthcare and trying to reduce the friction and as much as possible pushing for clarity where things feel overwhelming. Personally, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a dog mom, and someone who has spent the last several years living inside this healthcare system that we talk about every day, not studying it from the outside, but really living on it in the inside. Chronic illness, family health crises, and navigating care as a patient and a loved one has really changed how I show up in my work. I don't separate the human experience from the professional one. I told you that my family has a small agency, but I also started at a local carrier, my first job outside of the family business as a member service rep. And that experience has been carrying with me my entire career. That's why I do what I do, because I know that the things that we do every day touch every American, all of us every day, and the work that we do really matters. I think that our industry works best and we as professionals work best when we stop pretending that those two things live in different boxes. As a NABIP leader, I serve because I believe this organization matters. I've been a member since 2012, well, no, 2007, sorry. So quite some time, going almost on 20 years. Like many of you, I showed up at meetings and next thing I knew I was on Ledge Council, and then who knew I was president, and then somehow I got captured into the RVP role that Sarah is in right now, and that's the story. NABIP represents the people who sit in the middle of some of the hardest conversations in healthcare and in our society today. Cost, access, trust, advocacy, we stand between those systems and people, and that responsibility matters to me. My leadership style, I try to be, is collaborative, curious, and direct. I ask questions, and those questions used to get me in trouble a lot because people think when you ask questions, you're challenging them. And I've had to learn that that is a reaction that people have, but it's not my intention. I listen probably better now than I did when I was younger. I care deeply about building things that last, and I believe that progress comes from honesty, not perfection. Today, my goal is simple. I want you to feel comfortable. I want this to feel like a conversation, not a presentation at you. I want you to recognize pieces of your own experience in what we talk about today. And I want to leave with ideas that feel usable, not theoretical. And I can tell you, I have a very challenging meeting this afternoon with our Board of Trustees. And so putting this presentation together today has really helped me to try to center myself for that conversation that's coming this afternoon. And Sarah's smiling because She knows what I'm talking about. So I'm looking forward to spending this time together. Please excuse me if my slide advancements are clumsy. I will try my best. Sometimes I get wrapped up in what I'm talking about. Okay, so pressure isn't a crisis. It is now a constant. It shows up in our professional roles, of our volunteer work with NABIP, our personal lives. I'm in Minnesota. Let that mic drop. It is crazy here right now. And the pressure is intense. And it's been intense since George Floyd, and it's gotten worse. And so when I talk about pressure, I'm not talking about just what you're doing in your personal life or your professional life. We are, as individuals, as human beings, stretched really thin, and we're overloaded right now with feelings, with trying to figure out what the facts are and trying to figure out how we move forward. The problem is, as a leader, people want clarity and they want certainty. In our industry, your clients want that, but the markets and the rules keep shifting. In NABIP, people want direction without burnout. And at home, people want you present when you're stretched. And so what does that mean? You're constantly facing change. Markets shift, policies evolve, strategies must adapt faster than ever before. Competing demands, client needs, team expectations, volunteer commitments, they're all pulling for your immediate attention. High emotion, stress, uncertainty, stakes that matter deeply to the people that we serve and that frankly matter to us. And oftentimes we have limited control. We can't control outcomes. We can't control reactions of other people or circumstances. But what I figured out over the last couple of years in particular is the only thing we can control is how we show up. Told you, slide advancement clumsy. So what does pressure reveal? Pressure doesn't change who you are. It reveals how you lead. Whether you have a formal title or not, the way you respond under stress shows your true leadership patterns. These moments become mirrors, reflecting back what's working and what needs attention. When things are calm, most of us look like strong leaders. So when I hear people say, well, back when I was fill in the blank leader, none of this was happening. Back when I was in that position, there wasn't this drama and things were easier and we just all got along. Well, I would argue that right now, based on what I just told you in the last couple of slides, things are crazy, pressure filled and changing, whether it's AI, politics, policies, doesn't matter. It's changing. And having to respond to that is overwhelming to all of us. So, what does pressure reveal? Pressure reveals your default habits. One of my default habits is to go inward. The automatic responses you fall back on when time is tight and stakes are high. It's good to know what those things are so that you can be cognizant of them and push against them if they're not good habits. What are your triggers? What pushes your buttons and causes reaction rather than responsive behavior? That's another thing that I think as you get older, most people learn to recognize their triggers and respond in a more measured way. But in this pressure-filled environment, it's very tempting to just respond with whatever feeling you have or reaction you have. It also reveals your core values, what you're actually willing to defend when everything else is negotiable. And it also reveals gaps in clarity. So where you lack clear boundaries, purpose, or communications about what truly matters. That's the same for organizations. It's the same for NABIP. So pressure shows what you reach for first, what your defensiveness is, avoidance, control, or clarity. So I have spent years as a mom, as an employee, as a leader, trying to manage outcomes that I could not control. trying to manage and anticipate other people's reactions, carrying responsibility that was not mine to carry, burning energy on things that wouldn't change. So something shifted for me this year. I read a book called Let Them, and I am not someone, I'm a voracious reader. I learn a lot. I'm always trying to broaden my horizons. And when I read, I never put notes in the margins. I kind of blow through things. It's the first book in many years that I stopped, and I actually created a book club with Annette Bechtold around this and a workbook because the lessons that I learned through Let Them and then the responsive Let Me really changed something for me. So if you're looking for something to help you learn how not to try to control other people's behaviors or reactions and how to find your own power and let yourself react in a way that aligns with your values, I would encourage you to read that book. So if you read it, you'll probably hear some of the principles of those lessons in the next slides. So I've done my best to stop trying to control how others respond and focus entirely on how I show up. And that simple reframing, influenced by powerful ideas about letting people be who they are, changed everything. If you take nothing away from what I'm saying today, just remember that you need to accept that people are who they are and that you cannot control their actions, their feelings, their emotions. I'm a fixer by nature. So for a long time, I thought leadership meant carrying everything on my own shoulders. And that mindset has now shifted for me. I stopped trying to manage other people's reactions and started leading my own response. I think that this shift has improved my leadership with NABIP and my professional work, and even in my personal life. And if you're interested, you could go out to LinkedIn. I wrote an article, I don't know, 6 months ago about the experience that I had with one of my dogs who was very abused, and that the let them theory and how I applied it in the relationship with my dog and understanding how to interact with other people or even your dogs by accepting who they are and trying not to design the outcomes of where that relationship is and how that person evolves. So I thought it was a clever way to try to explain to everybody how if you give in to that and you start only trying to control your own behaviors and reactions, that oftentimes people change with you, and your dogs do as well, and they stop barking every time a leaf falls from a tree. So what happened when I let go? I got a clearer purpose. I could finally see what actually mattered to me versus what just felt very urgent. I figured out how to build better boundaries. I've always hated that word because I'm an empath and I care very deeply about others. And it felt to me like if I was putting up boundaries, I was saying you don't matter or I'm prioritizing myself first. And I've learned that that's not the case, that saying no becomes easier because my yes has more meaning and intention. And I know that the things that I'm saying yes to are really things that I can add value to. I think it's given me a calmer presence, so less reactive energy, more grounded leadership, even in chaotic moments, and hopefully stronger trust. So teams and volunteers, I hope, feel safer to show up authentically and contribute more fully. When I, the other piece of this is when I stopped over explaining and started naming what matters and what happens next, people moved faster, and with less drama. This has showed up in NABIP leadership and in my professional work as well. Like we just talked about, you do not need to fix everything. You do not need to have all of the answers. What people need most is your grounded and your intentional presence. When you stay calm and connected, you create psychological safety. And that's where trust and collaboration and performance thrive. So, what do you do under pressure? You pause before reacting. Take a breath. Create space between whatever stimulus is in front of you and your response. Listen fully. Hear what's being said and what's underneath those words. Allow emotion. Don't rush to fix things. Let people feel what they feel. And then let yourself feel what you feel, acknowledge it, and then choose how you respond. Respond intentionally and make sure that how you respond is aligned with your value and your purpose. Most people don't need you to fix in the moment. They need you not to escalate the moment. Presence, being there, listening is a leadership skill that you can learn. It's not a personality trait. Clarity is a gift that you can give to yourself and to other people. When the path forward feels foggy, people don't need elaborate explanations or perfect plans. They need simple, honest answers to three essential questions. What matters right now? Name the priority and specificity and confidence. Why does it matter? Connect the purpose to the values or the outcomes or the people that you care about. And then what happens next? Outline the immediate next steps, even if the full plan isn't clear yet. Clarity, again, does not require certainty. Clarity requires honesty. This helps with clients, teams, committees, and honestly, even family decisions. Humanity builds trust. I'll say that again. Humanity builds trust. Humanity does not lower standards, it raises trust. People are carrying more than you can see. Financial stress, family challenges, health concerns, professional uncertainty, political burnout, all of the things. And when you lead with humanity, which means acknowledging the reality of what other people are navigating, you don't lower the standard. What you're doing is you're raising the trust. People want to be seen. So acknowledging reality, naming what's hard without making it heavier, validation matters. Leading without ego, so you don't have to be the hero. Be the person who shows up with integrity. And trust is foundational. Community, collaboration, and performance are all built on this one thing. Humanity is not dumping emotions, which I always thought it was. I'd never talked about my own personal self, especially in the professional world, because I felt like I was dumping on others. Humanity is acknowledging that reality exists and staying steady in spite of it. And I think that this is how community becomes durable, not performative. And those relationships that you build with the people that you're working with or that you have in your life, if that trust is not foundational to that relationship, no work that you do is going to be something that lasts. Okay, so what are some practical ways that you can lead right now with all of the stuff, all the things that we just talked about? Small shifts create the biggest impact when pressure is high. You don't need to have a complete overhaul, just intentional adjustments to what Susie spoke about with how you communicate and how you prioritize and how you show up. So here's 5 practical ways that I think that you can do, the 5 practical ways of things that you can do right now that will help. So again, start your conversations with purpose. Be clear with the people that you're speaking with about why you're talking and what you hope to accomplish together. Say less, which is really hard for me, more clearly. Edit ruthlessly. If I've gotten anything from working with AI, it is editing ruthlessly. Take my 20 slides and make them 10. Take this big thing that I'm talking about and boil it down as much as possible without losing its intent. And so if you're not using AI, I suggest you do so. If there are things that you habitually do that are difficult for you to stop, you can use AI to help you edit yourself and iterate. And so I hear a lot of people saying, well, if you use AI, it's not really your own thoughts or feelings or work. And I disagree. That'd be like saying using spell check isn't really who you are because you don't know how to spell that word. And so use it to help you become sharper and clearer about what your values are. Release the things that you cannot control. This is even harder for me. And I work on it every day, especially in the environment of NABIP, where we have so many different stakeholders who are meaningful to who we are as an organization, whether it's staff or national leadership or local leadership or members or whomever. You cannot control everything. So stop carrying those outcomes, reactions, or decisions that aren't your own. Address, this is hard. All these are hard for me. Address one avoided issue. Again, I told you my reaction is to pull away from things when I feel overwhelmed or like I don't have control. And so sometimes for me, things will go avoided. And so if you can just address one avoided thing in whatever circumstance you're in that you've been postponing, that will make a huge difference. And then through this, weave through it, is stay aligned to values. So first, know your own personal values. That is a really important exercise. Again, AI can help you do that, and help you define what those values are. I've used that tool for that reason. And the values that I thought I had when I used to do that work has changed a little bit with having the ability to bounce that off of AI. So when decisions are feeling hard, when situations are pressured, when you feel like you don't have control, if you know what your values are, it'll be easier for you to just respond in a measured way. But you also have to think about the values of whatever situation you're in. So if it's NABIP, what are NABIP values? If it's your business, what are your business values? If it's a community or your home, what are the values that you're aligned with? Because your personal values may not be lined up perfectly with someone else's or even with the organization. So you have to recognize that and figure out how you apply your values to the situation that you're in. So pick one of these things and make it an action for the next couple of weeks. Because small, repeatable choices beat big reinventions under pressure every time. And athletes will tell you that, high performers will tell you that. I've always resisted it, but it's true. If you do something over and over again, it becomes part of who you are. So circling back, leadership under pressure isn't about control. It's about purpose, humanity, and clarity, even when the path forward is uncertain. And I also just want to say this before we wrap up. NABIP has shaped me as a leader in ways no single role or employer ever did. Not because of a title, but because of the people that you see on screen now, the people that you don't. Those are the people that shaped me into the leader that I am today. This association has given me friends who feel like family, colleagues who challenge my thinking, people to brainstorm with when the answers are not obvious, mentors who pushed me, mentees who reminded me why this work matters. I have gained skills here, perspective, confidence, and clarity of purpose. What I have learned over this is you get over time is that what you get out of NABIP is much more than what you give and is aligned with what you are open to receiving. So if you show up to learning, you will learn. If you show up to connect, you will find community. If you show up to give back, you will grow in ways that you did not expect. I am the leader I am today because of this association and because of the people in it and because I chose to lean in. So thank you for showing up today and every day. Thank you for contributing. And thank you for being part of something bigger than any one of us, because NABIP, this community matters. So with that, TJ, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Alicia. Outstanding presentation. Outstanding and so appropriate. And I loved your presentation. So authentic,
Thank
so
you.